You know what asset I've actually been the most impressed by as of late? It's been Shiba Inu. Shiba Inu has shown some extreme levels of conviction. In fact, while most of the market was red yesterday, Shiba Inu actually closed on a green daily candle. And what I think is very interesting here is it's showing all these signs of wanting to break to the upside and wanting to break this 20-day moving average. And we may have just gotten the most important confirmation we've needed yet for the crypto market. We're going to talk about that in this video. So if you guys are new or haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Hit that bell again. It's free to do. It'll keep you updated anytime there's new content live here on the channel. So what I think is kind of interesting is that SHIB has been setting a very distinct trend compared to the rest of the market. Even over these last few days, it doesn't really seem like a whole lot is going on. SHIB has just kind of been sideways. But, when we look at this trend versus Ethereum, it's very different, right? ETH has been struggling to really separate even from these lows it was experiencing from that basically March 10th through March 18th. SHIB has not had that problem. SHIB is very well above those levels. It's had a nice strong bounce. We're seeing a lot of conviction from holders. Yes, we've started off on a green day, a little bit of overnight selling, but even yesterday, as we got our big sell the news event from the Digital Asset Summit, which I think was a little bit unwarranted, I was very impressed at the fact that Shiba Inu continued to hold right around 40129, 4013. And you guys can see, same point of contention we've been dealing with is the same point of contention we dealt with overnight and got a little rejection from. That's that 20-day moving average. Guys, we are so close. SHIB is touching this more and more frequently. And it's only a matter of time. There's only so much resistance in the market before you finally break through, right? Now, what I will say again is ETH is the main reason why we haven't made this extension. It hasn't made this breakout. ETH got its rejection at its 20-day moving average yesterday. So again, with a lot of those liquidity pools, as ETH moves down, it tends to drag ERC20s with it. So SHIB had just a little bit of trouble overnight, kind of separating from that. Now, what I will say is very interesting for Ethereum in general is we've been kind of waiting for this confirmation that we're about to move to the upside across all alts in the space. And one of the biggest things we've been waiting for is this bottom in the ETH BTC pairing. What I found very interesting here is we may have just done something incredibly important in ETH BTC. That's the wrong chart. We may have actually just confirmed our double bottom in terms of ETH BTC. All right. Even as we look at ETH BTC over the last 24 hours here, last 2 days, whoa, I didn't draw. You guys can see that ETH BTC has had a couple red days, but it's still very much above that bottom that we were experiencing on those low flat days for Ethereum. So it's starting to do some very important things, and we're actually touching back at this wick that we did at the start of January of 2021. This might be a very important sign for Ethereum. Now, I have to say, there are some analysts out there thinking that Ethereum needs to come home. And what they mean by that is that ETH needs to drop to these levels back here, right? They're saying it needs to completely round trip all the way down to these lows of September of 2019. I don't think that's the case. It's just a moment of where ETH begins to plant its feet in the market and starts to, in fact, move to the upside. And what I will say is you can't sleep on the amount of accumulation that's taking place in terms of Ethereum. What we are consistently seeing is whales buying ETH in the crap tons. Yes, we're going to call that an actual measurement in the crap tons. And this has been happening by whales. This has been happening by institutional players. It's happening by World Liberty Financial. It's getting to the point where it's just ridiculous that the fact that people are still unloading, because there's always an inflection point in the market where it starts to move the opposite direction. And I don't think people realize how much that's going to impact Shiba Inu. So when we look at these times where ETH has, retraced in a big way and then bounced, we have to look at what did Shiba Inu do during the same time? Well, when ETH had this huge retracement, kind of right around, August, right at the time that Shiba Inu was dipping, it planted its foot in the ground and made a really strong surge to the upside. During that time, we know that ETH ran 93%. And what did Shiba Inu do? Shiba Inu actually ran over 200%. All right. So yes, when ETH does start making these more extended moves to the upside, that is when SHIB is going to be able to do some of its best, right? Even back here, as we got into the early part of 2024, basically February, we saw ETH make this move from basically this 2,200 range, move 80% all the way up to $4,000 by the early part of March. At that same time, we obviously know what happened with SHIB. It did a 4.5x move in that same time frame. All right. So that's basically what we're waiting for. We're waiting for ETH to give us some big confirmations here. And I think that this double bottom confirmation could be a very big one. Not saying that's for sure where SHIB is at. Understand, or where ETH is at. Understand this. All right. And yes, there will be some short-term profit taking. Yes, there will be some people that are playing games with price and trying to manipulate things. That's not an uncommon thing. And the problem is, we're in a very low volume week. Okay. I don't think people realize how low a volume this week has been. For example, last 24 hours, even with the manipulation that we saw yesterday in the market, we're at $75 billion in daily trading volume. That's incredibly low. That's weekend volume, guys. All right. Even early on yesterday, we barely eclipsed $100 billion in daily trading volume. So what we're seeing is actually stability. Okay. We're having low volume days where price isn't doing a whole lot to the downside. That's really good. That's really good. If you're falling on low volume, there is such thing as a low volume pullback. But what we're kind of seeing is conviction at the floor, and we're seeing some buying taking place and then some game playing happening above those levels. That's why, for example, I opened up that Shiba Inu long the other day, which is still open right now. It's a little bit red. It's down like 8% currently, just to kind of show you guys. It's down like 8.62%. But that really doesn't bother me because, again, when we're looking at this Shiba Inu chart, do I think we're headed back down to these 40114, 40115 levels? Probably not. Could it happen? Sure. Right? If we get a big bout of bearishness in the market, but understand that this is kind of where our floor is. All right. Obviously, there's no guarantees. This isn't financial advice or anything like that, but the market wants to move up. It's pressing very hard. There's a lot of compression of energy, and there's going to come a moment where things begin to break out. And it's a question of, are you prepared for it or are you not? So I just wanted to share that with you guys. I appreciate you as always. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but have a great day. Show your love below. Catch you guys in the next one. Take care.